There's a 21-mile-wide choke point in the Middle East that 20% of the world's oil passes through every single day. And right now, American warplanes are flying combat missions over it. But here's the part nobody in Silicon Valley is talking about. If this choke point closes, even for a few weeks, it won't just spike your gas prices. It could starve the most electricity-hungry industry on Earth. The American AI boom runs on cheap energy, stable supply chains, and semiconductor-grade neon gas that comes from a part of the world that's now on fire. The Iran war isn't just a military conflict. It might be the single biggest threat to America's AI dominance that almost no one in tech is willing to say out loud. Right now, two worlds are colliding in real time. On one side, the United States is engaged in a military campaign against Iran, airstrikes, naval deployments, and a war of attrition that's burning through munitions, political capital, and strategic patience. On the other, American tech companies are in the middle of the largest capital expenditure cycle in history. Microsoft, Google, Amazon, and Meta are spending over $300 billion in 2025 alone, building data centers to power AI. These two stories seem unrelated. They're not. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how a war 7,000 miles from Silicon Valley could reshape the future of artificial intelligence and why the people building AI should be paying far more attention to the Persian Gulf than they are to their next model release. To understand why this matters, you need to understand the invisible supply chain that makes the AI revolution possible. Let's start with energy. Training a single frontier AI model, something like GPT-5 or Gemini Ultra, consumes the electricity of a small city for months. A single large-scale data center can draw 100 megawatts or more of continuous power. That's roughly the output of a natural gas power plant running at full capacity. Now multiply that by the hundreds of data centers being planned and built across the United States right now. The International Energy Agency has projected that by 2030, global data center electricity consumption could more than double, reaching levels equivalent to Japan's total annual consumption. The American AI industry, specifically, is projected to add the equivalent electrical demand of a country the size of Argentina by 2028. Where does that power come from? In the US, increasingly, it comes from natural gas. Natural gas generates about 43% of American electricity, and the price of natural gas is deeply connected to global energy markets that are right now being rattled by instability in the Persian Gulf. Now layer in the hardware. Every AI chip, every NVIDIA H100 and B200, every Google TPU, every custom silicon that Microsoft and Amazon are designing requires advanced semiconductor manufacturing. That manufacturing depends on a handful of materials with razor-thin supply chains. Semiconductor-grade neon, for example, is critical for the lithography process that etches circuits onto chips. Before Russia's invasion of Ukraine, roughly half the world's supply of this neon came from two companies in Ukraine, Cryoin in Odessa and Ingus in Mariupol. That supply was disrupted. The industry scrambled, prices spiked. They adapted, but the lesson was clear. The semiconductor supply chain is fragile, and it breaks at geopolitical fault lines. And then there's the Strait of Hormuz. This narrow waterway between Iran and Oman is the most strategically important choke point in global energy. Roughly 20 to 21 million barrels of oil pass through it daily. That's about 20% of the world's supply. Liquefied natural gas tankers from Qatar, the world's largest LNG exporter, also transit through this strait. If Iran were to mine it, blockade it, or even credibly threaten to close it, the effects on global energy markets would be immediate and severe. And that brings us to the inciting incident. In June 2025, after years of escalating tensions over Iran's nuclear program and its support for proxy forces across the Middle East, the United States and Israel launched initial airstrikes targeting Iran's nuclear infrastructure. That 12-day air campaign was just the beginning. By February 2026, the conflict had escalated into a sustained military campaign, Operation Epic Fury, targeting Iran's missile sites, military industrial capacity, and strategic assets across the region. This wasn't a one-off strike, it was a full-scale campaign. And Iran responded not just with missiles, but with the one card it's always held, the threat to choke off the world's energy supply. Here's what nobody tells you about modern wars. They're expensive in ways that don't show up in the headlines. The United States military is the most capable fighting force on the planet. But capability and sustainability are two different things. America's precision munition stockpiles, the JDAMs, the Tomahawks, are not infinite. These are complex weapons that take months, sometimes years, to manufacture. The US drew down significant portions of its precision munition stockpiles supporting Ukraine, prompting serious concerns about readiness. Replenishment has been slow. Defense industrial production lines were not built for sustained, high-intensity conflict. They were optimized for peacetime efficiency. Now, the US is fighting a direct campaign against a nation-state adversary with real air defenses, ballistic missile capability, and the strategic depth to absorb punishment and keep fighting. Every Tomahawk fired at an Iranian facility is one that's not available for a potential conflict in the Taiwan Strait, the other choke point that keeps American military planners up at night. Think about what that means. The attrition war with Iran doesn't just draw down munitions. It draws down strategic optionality. And if you're an AI company whose entire chip supply depends on TSMC in Taiwan remaining safe, peaceful, and operational, that should terrify you. But here's what nobody's talking about. The attrition isn't just military, it's fiscal. The US is spending staggering sums on this conflict at a time when the national debt has already surged past $38 trillion and is approaching $39 trillion. Interest payments on that debt now consume more of the federal budget than defense spending. Every dollar spent on Tomahawk missiles and carrier strike group deployments is a dollar not invested in CHIPS Act subsidies, research grants, or the energy infrastructure that AI companies desperately need. There's a direct fiscal pipeline connecting the war in the Persian Gulf to the pace of AI development in the United States, and the valve is tightening. Now let's talk about what happens when the Strait of Hormuz gets disrupted, not hypothetically, but practically. Iran doesn't have to close the strait entirely, it just has to make transit risky. A few mines, a few anti-ship missile launches, insurance rates for tankers skyrocket, shippers reroute, deliveries slow. Even the threat of disruption can spike oil prices by $20 to $30 a barrel within days. We saw a version of this in 2019, when drone attacks on Saudi Aramco's Abqaiq and Khurais facilities, attributed to Iran-backed Houthis, knocked out 5% of global oil supply overnight and sent prices surging. Now scale that up to an actual sustained conflict. Oil prices don't just spike, they stay elevated. Natural gas prices follow, and electricity costs in the United States, which have already been climbing due to AI-driven demand, go through the roof. For AI companies, this is an existential problem. Data center economics are built on energy cost projections. When Microsoft signs a 15-year power purchase agreement for a new hyperscale facility, they're making a bet on future electricity prices. If those prices spike 30 or 40% because of a Gulf energy crisis, the economics of the entire AI build-out change. Projects get delayed, margins compress. The already tight competition for power grid access becomes a knife fight. And it gets worse. Remember those LNG tankers from Qatar? Europe has been desperately trying to replace Russian pipeline gas with LNG imports. If Qatari LNG gets disrupted, Europe panics. European natural gas prices spike. That pulls American LNG exports toward Europe, where buyers will pay a premium. Less gas stays in the US domestic market. American natural gas prices rise. American electricity prices rise. The AI data center boom gets more expensive. This is the chain reaction that a single narrow waterway in the Middle East can trigger. And almost nobody in the tech industry is modeling for it. But energy is only half the story. Let's follow the silicon. TSMC, Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, produces over 90% of the world's most advanced chips. Every frontier AI accelerator, whether it's an NVIDIA H100, a Google TPU V5, or an AMD MI300, is fabricated in TSMC's fabs in Taiwan. This has always been a concentration risk. It's the reason the CHIPS Act was passed, to incentivize domestic semiconductor manufacturing in the United States. But the CHIPS Act fabs won't be online at meaningful scale until 2027 or 2028 at the earliest. Right now, in this window, America's AI industry is almost entirely dependent on a single island 100 miles off the coast of China. Here's where the Iran war connects. A sustained US conflict in the Middle East consumes military assets, diplomatic bandwidth, and deterrence credibility. Every carrier strike group stationed in the Persian Gulf is one that's not patrolling the Western Pacific. Every signal of American strategic overstretch emboldens Beijing's calculus on Taiwan. This isn't fear-mongering, it's game theory. Chinese military planners study American deployments in real time. If the US is visibly stretched, burning through munitions, rotating carriers, absorbing the fiscal weight of a Middle Eastern war, the perceived cost of a move against Taiwan drops. Not because China wants war, but because the strategic window appears wider. And if anything disrupts TSMC's operations, a blockade, an invasion, even a sustained campaign of coercion that makes shipping risky, the global AI industry doesn't just slow down, it stops. There is no alternative supplier at scale. None. Intel's foundry business is years behind. Samsung's yields on cutting-edge nodes have been inconsistent. TSMC is it. So when you hear about airstrikes over Tehran, you should be thinking about fab capacity in situ. The two are connected by the invisible thread of American strategic bandwidth. So what does this all mean? Let me lay out three implications that I think the AI industry is dangerously underprepared for. First, energy security is AI security. This is the big one. The American AI industry has been built on the implicit assumption that energy will remain abundant and relatively cheap. That assumption is now being tested by two simultaneous forces: the insatiable electricity demand of AI itself, and a geopolitical conflict that threatens global energy supply. Every major AI company needs a chief energy strategist, the way they currently have a chief AI scientist. The companies that secure long-term resilient energy supplies through nuclear, renewables with storage, or diversified gas contracts will have a massive competitive advantage. The ones that don't will find themselves unable to power their own ambitions. This is why you're seeing Microsoft cut deals to restart 3 Mile Island's nuclear plant. It's why Google is investing in next-generation geothermal. They see it coming. But the urgency isn't matched across the industry. Most AI startups are still thinking about model architecture, not megawatts. That's a mistake. Second, the CHIPS Act is no longer optional, it's urgent. The original timeline for onshoring semiconductor manufacturing was aggressive but deliberate. Build fabs, train workers, ramp production over 5 to 7 years. The Iran war accelerates the clock. If the Middle East conflict degrades American deterrence in the Pacific, and there's a real argument that it does, then the window of vulnerability for Taiwan's fabs is shorter than anyone thought. The US needs to treat domestic chip manufacturing with the same urgency it treats weapons production during wartime. That means faster permitting, bigger subsidies, and a willingness to accept higher costs for supply chain resilience. The $52 billion in the CHIPS Act was a down payment. The real bill will be 10 times that. And it needs to be paid now, not after a crisis in the Taiwan Strait makes it too late. Third, the AI industry needs to engage with geopolitics directly. For years, Silicon Valley has treated foreign policy as someone else's problem. They lobbied on immigration, taxes, and regulation. But the big questions of war, alliance management, and strategic competition were left to think tanks and the Pentagon. That era is over. The AI industry is now a national security asset. Its supply chain is a strategic vulnerability. Its energy consumption is a geopolitical variable. Tech companies need seats at the table when decisions about the Middle East, the Pacific, and energy policy are being made, not because they deserve them, but because the consequences of those decisions land directly on their balance sheets and their ability to build the future they keep promising. Here's the uncomfortable truth. The United States cannot simultaneously fight a war of attrition in the Middle East, maintain credible deterrence in the Pacific, fund the energy infrastructure for an AI revolution, and subsidize domestic chip manufacturing all at the same time, all with the same finite pool of resources. Something has to give. And right now, nobody in a position of power is being honest about those trade-offs. Remember that 21-mile wide choke point I mentioned at the start? The Strait of Hormuz has been called the most important waterway in the world for decades. But it's never been more important than it is right now, because for the first time, it's not just about oil. It's about the energy, the chips, the strategic bandwidth, and the fiscal oxygen that the entire American AI industry needs to survive. The Iran war is not a sideshow. It's a stress test for the infrastructure of the future. And right now, we're failing it. The companies and leaders who understand this, who see that geopolitics and gigawatts and GPU supply are all part of the same equation, will be the ones who navigate what comes next. The ones who don't will wake up one morning to find that the future they were building ran out of power before it ever arrived. If this video made you think differently about the connection between war and technology, share it with someone in tech who's not paying attention to this, because they should be. And if you want to go deeper on how energy infrastructure is reshaping the AI race, I'll link a video on that next. What do you think? Is the AI industry prepared for a prolonged Middle Eastern conflict? Drop your take in the comments. I'll see you in the next one.